Hold on.
Or is it?
Well, what we could do is redo it so that, Gary's not a standing member. We could,
Yeah, I'm gonna say, so, yeah, do we want all of them to be the rest of candidates?
right, they could be special members called in. Like Stephen just called me, he can't make it, but he doesn't have to be a regular member.
I asked him last time, and he said he wanted to be a regular member.
Here we have some people.
Okay, that's, I do think that it was some restrictions.
Oh.
Three guys.
Yes.
Let's do a Lord work out there, sorry.
No worries. The forum. We'll go ahead and. Meeting was called to order at 9 AM. The agenda has been distributed to all of you. Are there any additions to it? So 30 seconds, and some people swap in.
Membership too, I want to count as a member. I did not vote.
But that isn't when the board of selectmen assembled the committee, assembled it with 9 members.
That's what it is how they change.
So that may be something we might request of them just to make our business a little easier.
It's the maximum value.
That's whatever number they want to
They
make.
could have.
Yeah, I mean, the planning commission's here where there's. Up to. Yeah, I'll do something, so.
Right.
What you can get, so.
But some commissions were pretty good, Shaw, they're lucky.
I remember one of them.
Alright, any additions to the agenda? I'm actually gonna add an item at the end here talking about the structure of the committee, because potentially we want to. Adjust things a little bit to ensure we have a forum and establish a little. I'm going to say the agenda is good. Then we're gonna do the approval of minutes, and we're gonna do it Robert's rules way, which no committee in town does it the right way, so. Watch and learn. Minutes have been distributed to you. Are there any corrections? I'm gonna offer one correction, because Justin's name is misspelled. Gosh, nice. Some more time to review minutes.
Make a motion to accept, meeting minutes.
I'm gonna call that motion out of order, because that's not how Robert's rules work. If there are no further corrections. The minutes are approved as distributed, because that's how Robert's rules does it. You don't vote on minutes ever. Because if you do, you can theoretically reject the minutes, and never have minutes.
Never heard that.
I've never heard that at all, and
Right.
I run a board of directors over our fire department, so.
I know, everyone in Connecticut does it wrong.
Got it.
I've not seen, actually, it's more than just Connecticut. It seems like the further north you go, But the first time I came to a meeting here and they were like voting on minutes, like, what happens if you don't have enough people who attended the last meeting? Who could actually approve the minutes, and it's like, no, by default, the minutes are written and approved.
I would imagine you'd have to vote to agree to the changes.
Yes, if there are changes to the minutes, those would potentially be voted upon.
Would we have to vote whether Justin's name is truly misspelled?
If there are objections, we can vote on
No objection, that's my name.
it.
Alright, we'll go after that.
It's okay, there's both benefits to it as well, because when we get to the end of the agenda, we don't need a full vote to adjourn, it just needs a motion and a second, so we can get out of here like 10 seconds. So, alright, audience of citizens. Anything else?
I,
Name and address.
my name is Sherry Gage and I live at 232 Route 87.
Sure.
in Maumee. I am here, I wanted to bring awareness to the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation Complete Streets and Pedestrian Safety Strategy. And the reason for that is at the last meeting, there was a lot of talk about different strategies to approach this, and maybe you're already aware of all of this. But they have it pretty well spelled out in terms of four-pronged approach to pedestrian and increased safety for, and they deal with the exact same topics that we talked about last time, which were speed, crosswalks, intersections and streets, public awareness and education, and integrated safety program. So that's, I wanted to just bring that information out. It really lays it out nicely along their side.
Yeah, there are a number of towns in Connecticut, certainly the larger ones that have been pursuing complete street strategies, and then there's towns that have barely a sidewalk that maybe haven't even heard of it. I think it's something we can certainly include in what we're looking at. So yeah, I'll know that, and we'll include that in our topics going forward. Anything else from the audience? Cool, old business, automated traffic enforcement discussion, everyone's favorite topic. We started talking about this last time. In theory, this board was formed out of the interest in pursuing automated traffic enforcement, so that is something that I'm sure we're going to be asked to continue to look at, and I have some comments to make on the topic when we get to new business, but if there are any general discussions or comments people want to have about it right now, please feel free to.
They're changing their strategy. The cost for the cameras now is zero. And they're only taking their cut of, and I don't know if they're taking an increased cut or still just the $15 processing fee cut. But I know that because East Adams having a meeting tonight, public hearing, and they were originally 2,500, then 2,000, then their latest contract with DACWA is zero for the cameras.
But they would get the entirety of the administrative fee.
That, I don't know that, I'm gonna ask for the contract to be sent to me.
The concern I had was in reading the legislation and how it's written. It simultaneously does not allow vendors to have a income per citation. But then there's this concept of the administrative fee, which is per citation, so.
Yeah, so the administrative fee, are you talking, the processing fee is 15,
Okay,
are you talking about the $50 or
the $50
75?
plus a $15 fee, or
Right,
it's,
so which is the administrative?
is it not the $15 processing fee?
So I think that we're talking same thing, so whether it's administrative or processing, that's the 15. And then the ticket goes to the town
Citation.
citation, okay. That's what I understand, but I don't know if anything else.
Okay, that'll be an interesting subject to look at going forward. I haven't seen anyone come in against them on that topic. At the same time, I know other states have dealt with issues when a vendor collected anything per citation, whether it was part of the citation itself or an administrative fee or whatever, so. Yeah, and this is particularly for one vendor.
Right, I've only heard from down.
Which I do think that if this is something we continue to look at, we need to approach it from a more vendor agnostic view. Most towns are simultaneously working with the potential vendor and writing their policy. Others seem to only be doing policy, getting that approved, and then they go find a vendor. That might be a preferred route, but we'll see. There are a lot of vendors for this sort of thing. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We don't even know if this is something we want to look at. So, yeah, any further general discussion about automated traffic enforcement right now? Great, moving straight along to new business, committee schedule for 2026. So we're gonna keep the first and third Wednesday. Do you believe this is something I can have to vote on?
Yes.
Yes. In general, by a strict interpretation of Robert's rules, the chair doesn't typically make motions.
Make a motion to accept the schedule.
There we go.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Plan of Conservation and Development Transportation section, good news, we are the last section in the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is great, because we're still getting our act together, we have some time to figure this out, we will be up when the Planning and Zoning Commission reviews the transportation section in January. So sometime between now and then, it would be great if we can each take a quick review for the 2016 version of the P O C D's transportation chapter towards the very end. And we will probably, starting next meeting, come together and start to discuss goals and strategies and so forth. Now that there's actually a committee that directly corresponds to that chapter. Anything else on that, Alan, Warren, or?
No, he wants to put something out to everybody what the general goals are, and just a starting point.
I know the planning commission also sends, or well, through the town, sends out something to each of the committees.
Yeah, I guess Gowski, they'll be sent out to the various committees.
I would say the sooner we get that, the better, because we have a lot to go over. And
Okay.
anything else on that topic? Okay. I'm gonna chat real quick about the class that I took a couple weeks ago. We're at the firehouse in Wyndham, the local traffic authority class. It was a day and a half that I'm not gonna ask anyone else here to sit through, which you actually already have, I think, or you probably have at some point. So it's not anything I haven't sat through before for other states, but it was interesting to see how Connecticut approaches things very differently from Maryland and Virginia. I think one of the benefits we have is it seems to be a shorter distance to go from us here in town to reaching someone either in Connecticut Department of Transportation or OSTA or somewhere else who can actually do something about a problem we have. At the same time, sometimes our hands are tied when we see like an immediate concern, we have to go through the state to change it, and that's true potentially even on local roads. Because we can't just go out on a local road in Columbia and say, "We don't like the speed limit, let's change it." We have to either go through Connecticut Department of Transportation, or they also allow a town to say, you know what, we want to handle all of the speed limits on all of our local roads. We'll take full responsibility for traffic studies and speed limits and putting the signs up. And also assume 100% liability if anything goes wrong with those. So no surprise that out of 169 towns, exactly 3 have decided to adopt that. But it was kind of interesting, we're all way on the other side of the state. But yeah, it was a fairly useful class, and there were a couple of things I brought from that class that I'm gonna include here when we get to the items in a moment. But yeah. Moving right along, one topic that came up while I was there is that Connecticut officially adopted the 11th edition of the MUTCD. So there were a handful of changes that I just really left at home. But I remember it's mostly dealing with bike lane markings and bus route markings. There were a few other minor topics. They officially put something in there saying that So it was, you can't use stop signs to control traffic, or to control speeding, I should say. A number of towns have in their head that stop signs are just a way to make people slow down. I mean, TCD says, no, you actually cannot do that. So, yeah. I don't know if anyone else is aware of any other changes in the latest version that would impact Columbia directly. But I took a quick look through it and it seemed mostly minor changes. Coming up, there is a automated traffic enforcement webinar. It is being hosted by the T2 Center, who ran this local traffic authority class. They are part of Yukon. They put out a lot of educational material that is useful to everyone from citizens to selectmen and beyond. This is on Tuesday, November 18th at 9 AM. They're hosting a webinar on automated traffic enforcement safety devices. This is a vendor agnostic webinar. And I would encourage people who would like to learn more about these devices and how they work and how the legislation works and what a town can and cannot do with them to please sign up. It's free. It's at 9 AM on a Tuesday. We're here at 9 AM on Wednesday, so maybe that's something people can check out. If you are not sure what you feel about them, I strongly encourage you to get on there and they will be taking questions, so please come and ask them questions. You can also ask me, because I've been dealing with this for many years, but ask them instead.
The webinar, can you send the link out to the committee?
Yeah, can we get that out there? And then in your packet, the next two items deal with a couple of things that are in here. One is just a bullet list. This is system level safety management. So this is something we talked about for a couple hours at the traffic authority class. And that is taking a system level management strategy towards road safety. They say that a lot of times towns like to throw solutions at things without fully understanding the problems. And they suggested adopting one way to get around that or to avoid that is to adopt a flow that looks something like this, where you identify the problems and then potential strategy for countermeasures, an implementation plan, and then you monitor the implementation and review the resolution and some steps that are in between there. And so as we are starting to identify issues in Columbia that we may be interested in addressing, it may be helpful to formulate this into a template where we say, okay, there's a problem we have. Is it at a specific location? Is it along an entire road, or is it something town-wide? They said, be careful about any problems you declare as town-wide, because often they aren't actually town-wide. They might be on a number of roads, but very rarely does a traffic problem affect every road in town. You need to make sure it's something that you can actually observe that's ongoing. If it's just a one-time thing, seasonal, you might not see it if it's only happening part of the year. And then you have to take an honest look and say, is it a problem that we can actually address, either we as a town or we working with partners at the T2 Center or Department of Transportation. Sometimes there are problems that not necessarily we just have to learn to live with, but could potentially be indicative of a more systemic issue, and then you have to back up and actually see, okay, what is the real problem here that we're just kind of biting off a small piece of. And then in terms of strategies and countermeasures, the folks at the T2 Center really like this page that was from a manual in the Federal Highway Administration, which is the Proven Safety Countermeasures. It's nice to see it all kind of on one page here. This is and you can go on their website, Federal Highway Administration, look up proven safety countermeasures, and they will break down each of these. And they give really nice statistics for if you implement this in an area with this kind of problem, you'll typically see this percentage of improvement. And they have rings of data that suggests, okay, this will actually help you here. And you can see the ones that are marked with a little red new tag are ones that they've added more recently. But there are plenty of these other ones that have been around for a while. Some of these may not be quite so obvious exactly what they are, so if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask now. I think I understand what all these are.
Let's back up 1 second.
Yeah.
What's the goal and timeline for identifying the issues so we can work towards that?
Also, another thing is some issues, if we can identify them quickly, they have a quick resolution, we can knock them out fairly fast. Others may be a problem that require bigger solutions, or we have to consider, is this is a solution potentially too costly? Is it not something we can actually address, or maybe it'll take years to address? So we're gonna probably find problems on both ends of the spectrum, easy wins, extremely difficult slogs that will take years to fix, so.
So short term versus long term, kind of to oversimplify it, and then when we look at the next step. It's spread out a little bit, but. Obviously, it'll be crucial to identifying those and then to coming up with recommendations to the board of selectmen, so what's our overall goal for recommendations to the board of selectmen as far as the timeline? Or do we know that yet?
As soon as possible, as quickly as we are able to put those together, and part of it's going to depend on if it involves other agencies, how quickly they are responding to things. Now, one of the tools that is at the very bottom here, the road safety audit, the T2 Center will actually do those for towns for free. I don't know if Columbia's ever had any of those done, they call them road safety assessments. Where they will literally come out to your local road, they won't do this on state roads. And they will look at your road and say, okay, here's everything we see that's a problem, here are ways to fix it.
Well, we did bring them out to Old Romantic, the T2 Center, Old Romantic and Lake
No,
West, Lake. We put a camera up on Lake, Old Romantic, and they probably looked at Carswell, right? Because that's where we were getting a lot of.
Do we have existing data or historical data already on any of this?
I think what they said was that the speeding wasn't the issue. I think in short, that the speeding wasn't as big an issue as the complaints were.
correct.
we
There
might-
was speeding, but it wasn't in excess of.
Right, on any of the locations, they did state that a pedestrian standing on a road would perceive the speeding to be at a higher rate than it actually is in general. But one thought I had was we probably should make this into kind of a form you could fill out by hand, because Jen and I get phone calls. And we should probably have this where we start filling it out. What's the road, what's the complaint?
Yeah.
And then we could start capturing where we're having issues, because I can tell you. Whitney is not willing, and I'm willing to complain.
But every road is, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the last storm we just had, and I was on Route 87, and I had 2 fire pieces out where I was directing traffic. For 3 hours and people don't care. So, hold on,
Right,
am I gonna put a cop there with me for that? Am I gonna put a cop everywhere we are, or wherever someone wants to speed? It's an epidemic, it's everywhere, it doesn't matter, if we put a camera up right here, as soon as they're through the camera, they're gonna speed up again. So, Middletown's collected $1.4 million, made the news. So buy 4 or 5 cameras and put them up and just start dabbling in the money. Until people wanna get it, it doesn't matter if Gary's on the road, Trooper Brown's on the road, giving a ticket, 2 minutes later, he's pulling over somebody else. So, I think, your quick solution is a stern message to the people. Top down, right from the first selectman, giving it to them, getting on board with a message, a strong message that this isn't gonna be tolerated in our town. And be prepared for a $300 ticket.
Yeah, I tend to agree that one of the starting points is the cornerstone of that communication. Along with gathering information.
Right.
Because I don't think there's a great conduit right now. I like your idea of, you have a form you fill out or whatever, just to make sure that we're connecting the dots. But if we're missing that piece of it, and then there's no good communication, then all else, you do whatever we want. But the other piece of it is identifying what the actual problems are, And then what's your short term, long term ideas to address them?
And then we have ongoing issues like the two sharp curves on 87 around the lake.
But you're not gonna fix those.
Where we had a solution recommended by DOT,
Yeah.
but the public hearing didn't go well. But the solution still might be something as a committee. We look at and say, no, you really should put the wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's completely appropriate,
Right.
you know, and people choose to not do it through a public meeting or however, you know, they interact, that's fine, but sometimes the solutions will be those things.
We're not gonna win a popularity contest here.
Well, absolutely not. Having been on several of these before, we are often the most chewed out and unfavored one. So yeah, this committee is political suicide. Definitely don't be on this if you're running for an option.
I mean,
I'm okay now.
I would just say, like, I can care less what people think about me, and still do my job. I deal with public all the time, constantly. As soon as I show up with my coffee, I'm doing traffic stops. If I literally pull every single car over that went 50 and above, that would be my 100% job the entire time. I can't do that. I work for the state. There's calls I gotta go to, other troopers that need me, so I can't physically do that. So at some point, and it goes back to what we just talked about, is like, we need to start making, okay, we come to these meetings, we talk about the problems, and then solutions are, you know, troop around, do more traffic stops, we don't want speed cameras, we need the DPW to put up the speed signs, oh, that's great. But people are still gonna speed, they don't care. We were literally on 87 yesterday with trees and wires down, and people were upset with us because they couldn't get to Lebanon or Norwich. Or why is the road shut down? Because we felt like shutting 87 down today. It's just, oh, I don't know any other way around. Okay, cool. They're still speeding up to us. It's a giant fire truck and a police car. Why are you speeding at us? But the thing is, people aren't gonna change. That's just the behavioral of driving. A lot of the seniors in Columbia are the culprits of speeding. I can tell you that 100%. I give them the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, I'm fair and consistent. Everyone's gonna get a ticket. I just wrote one, hence why I was late right now. She's going 57, which is no reason to go 57 on 87. So we need to start making some solutions and not just troop around and do traffic stops, because okay, I'll keep doing traffic stops. I don't care. I'm having a good time, but there's no other solutions right now. And even like let's just do a short one, something simple now, so we can figure out the bigger issue or a bigger solution.
I agree.
It's just like we're having these meetings and we're doing subcommittees to a committee. And then there's a lot of opinions, but there's nothing being done.
That's true. So I think in the getting something done, I think Mark's idea of actually turning this into an actionable template where someone reports a problem, we report it, it comes before us, we start identifying potential solutions, countermeasures, and then we can talk about recommending implementations to Board of Selectmen.
Well, nothing else that'll get this data. When people come screaming, you'll say, well, okay, you have a stack of papers as high from your neighbors.
Yeah, so if the same folks on the committee each make a different call, maybe just make a notation on the scene that we got 18 people.
And then every meeting, I'll give Mark the stats, but I write down every traffic stop I do, and I tally the difference if it's a non-resident to it being Columbia. So you will get those stats going forward
Awesome.
of who I'm stopping, so you guys can address it, because I can tell you right now, just like they said, me being on 87, I just had another resident come out and say, hey, you parked my driveway, I see what you're doing, you're out here a lot, I appreciate it, because it's a racetrack out here. So it's nice to be like thanked. Obviously it is helping, because I can tell you there's not as many speeders. And I'm getting a lot more non-residents, so I don't know if people are watching at home or online or whatever, but I'll continue doing it, because there are still a lot of residents that are speeding. And they do the same thing. As soon as they pass me, you know, they're slowing and they book it as soon as they get by me, and I can't see them anymore. It's the same thing with a speed camera, with the speed sign. Oh, I didn't realize the speed. You live in town of Columbia. I don't care.
We will absolutely get to you. There's another audience citizens, but I want to make sure we wrap up. We're gonna put together, do you want me to put together a graphic form, or do you have something?
If you wanna take a shot at it,
You can go.
it's fine, okay? And then, we can
Um,
always pretty it up and.
oh yeah. Yeah, no, they actually had something that was kind of serviceable that I ripped this out of, so.
Okay, good.
I got a lot of phone numbers from other towns and I was at a table full of select and they're like, oh, we got lots of things we can do this for. They also, I went to the seminar on the first day, I was like, yeah, most of our speeders can be from in town, and they were like, oh, yeah, no, all of ours are out of town. And then several of them came back the second day of the seminar and they were like, we talked to our trooper, no, the problem is actually our own residents, you were right, Nick, so. That was quite surprising, I think there's kind of the idea out there that the feeders in everyone's town are everyone else's town, but that's not necessarily the case, although maybe that's potentially changing, so.
I just have one thing, if speeding you say is an epidemic and we're not going to fix that, maybe some of our focus should be on. Where cars actually leave the roadway and improvements we can make to
I agree.
make things more safe, knowing that people are gonna speed. And how we can protect pedestrian and private property.
Yeah, focusing on speeding is kind of abstract, I mean, we've got data, we looked at it last time, yeah, we know. If there's or if there are specific areas where vehicles are exiting the roadway. Then that, on a consistent basis, that's probably where we should put some eyes, and then we determine. And make recommendations from there, is it speeding, is it something else,
And that's also important because state level, Department of Transportation doesn't care about speeding within your town. They're not going to make road improvements because there's speeding, they're gonna make road improvements because there are crashes. Now, you get crashes because people are speeding, seems to be a huge factor in that. But if you're saying, oh, we got a lot of speeders coming down this road, they'll say, we don't see the crashes, so we're not gonna do anything for you. Then we have to look at other options, and to me, part of why the state passed legislation allowing automated traffic enforcement was a way to appease towns and say. You wanna handle speeders more directly, we will let you do this. So, but yes, absolutely, I think looking at crash reports. Any other data that we have other than just abstract thoughts of people are speeding will be very useful to inform. Going forward.
Mark, do we have any data on the towns using the traffic cameras of? Like. How many tickets they're giving out and if there's sort of a curve and then it goes down, or?
We can get that from the towns, cause they are tracking all that. It's also new.
Yeah, I mean, Marlboro has it in Middletown, even though people hate it and say that the town is like stealing money from the residents. All the places they put it, they've seen a reduced amount of speeding in those areas, so they are helping and they're doing the job they're made to do. And they're giving the town revenue to do whatever else. And Marlboro uses it, I haven't spoke to a resident trooper there, but. We had someone sit in the audience at the last meeting saying that, oh yeah, I got a ticket from that. And I didn't realize it was there. I drove by one, they have one on North Main. And there's multiple signs that say like pedestrian crosswalk, stuff like that, but people are constantly speeding through it. Well, they place a speed camera there, so it tells you that the speed camera's coming up and people are still getting hit by it because they just don't care. Or they're just not paying attention to the signs on the road, which is also an issue. I mean, I'm blatantly out in the public and I'm not hiding, and people are going by me like I don't exist, so. It's just people aren't aware of their surroundings and they're still getting hit by it and they're getting mad, but eventually, like we said, it's gonna work. People are gonna get tired of getting tickets. And they're gonna be like, alright, I'm gonna start slowing down, and then you'll see the reduce in speed in those high areas. 87, 66, Route 6, the smaller streets, Roses Bridge. It goes right into Coventry, and there's one section of Columbia that we own. I've sat on the street a couple times, it's very hard to sit on that street and get people, because you're coming downhill, so I'm not gonna be that guy and be like, oh, you're going 26, I gotcha. But it's usually people coming from Coventry that I can get. But there's only one speed sign on that road, and it's coming down from Columbia, it says 25 miles an hour. And I drove it to Coventry and back, so maybe putting more signs there of 25 miles an hour would be something that we could do. I don't know if we're able to do that as a town on our side.
No, gotta go through the state, unless we wanna do all of them.
What's that?
Unless we wanna take complete responsibility for the speed limit signs and speed limits on our local roads. We
Well, I
have to
think
go
you
to
don't have
We
to
can
go
put
state law.
signage, we can't change
You
the
can't change the
speed,
speed.
speed limit. We
Okay,
couldn't
we
go
can put
from
additional
30 to
signage.
35, but
If
we
we
can
decide
add
we need another sign, we can just put it on.
Okay, and that's just a notify the state, not get permission from the state kind of thing, I see.
You don't have to notify them. If it's an existing speed limit,
But you're just documenting with more signage for the school.
And the speed cameras too, is like when I was in the meeting with them, the company that came, they put it on 87, they put it on 66, and there were just like black strips that people would run over, and they're like, oh, what was that? That gave us some data of essentially how many cars were speeding on those two roads, on those two locations. Just to see if that's something we're interested in the town to get.
When we have that data.
And we have that data.
That was 3 days worth.
Yeah, and that's only 3 days, and I mean, the data shows that people just don't care. I've had cars passing in front of the school, other cars at triple, I mean. It's getting crazy, but. We're trying to find small solutions to fix these problems, and I'm pretty sure just based off of all the other towns kind of getting the speed cameras, they are helping. It's a kind of 2-for-1 deal. People are gonna realize, hey, this is where they're at. I'm not gonna speed. We're not gonna have those complaints anymore in the town. And then people are gonna start getting hit by it, and then the town's gonna collect revenue to pay the trooper for overtime or pay for whatever it is, more road construction or whatever we have to do. Kind of fix those small solutions or the problems that we have.
Mark, you mentioned the last meeting, you mentioned the town got some sort of, we're getting new signs by the state or something.
Yeah, for speed limit signs, they're replacing them all.
Is
Right?
it possible?
Yeah, cross.
Is that, we can get some more signs, partly,
they're gonna install them according to the MUTCD, so there will be more than what we have up right now.
And they might move some of them. They might decide.
but at least a few, that might be a solution on them coming, and once we see that, then we know what, like, extra we might.
Yeah.
What,
I think that
that's
would be
coming
fine.
soon, is that?
And they did one out to, I think, construction in April, they
It's
start installing them throughout the towns.
not gonna.
So Mark, you said you had data from those strips for the 3 days. Is that in an email, is that in a PDF, or is it all on paper?
That might have been an email.
I
Maybe, yeah,
saw it in the board selecting packet when I first showed
well,
up.
I think it was an email that we printed out. I have it, I can make photocopies too.
It'd just be helpful if we could review some of the data
Right.
that exists. If we're trying to figure out what the issues are, that might help
Okay.
identify.
No, it was just 3 locations, which I think Steve worked with the vendor to pick out, it wouldn't necessarily been the 3 locations I would look at, but.
I was just wondering if that data was an electronic copy that the committee could have it to look at and just.
I think so, I think,
Sure.
I think so.
it was an attachment.
The locations were picked out by myself and Mark, based off of. Well, my experience because I'm out there doing the job, but two, those are the high roads that, yes, the small roads are good, but really we're not getting a lot of complaints on smaller roads, and the ones that we are getting complaints on, they're usually hills. So, I mean, that comes into play.
You didn't try one in the school zone?
Well, that would be 66.
Well, there was one on 66 that way, but not over here.
Yeah, there was one moving down the hill. Just before we got to the gas station, right after, Mott Road.
Okay.
Mark, we also have the data from Lake Road and Old Romantic in an email form.
Okay, yes, we'll get that, we'll find all that and get it to the committee.
Sounds like we have. Plenty more, we'll discuss in future meetings real quick, the item I added to the agenda, talking about the committee structure. We are 9 members, board of selectmen informed us of 9 members, 9 voting members, which means we need at least 5 people in attendance for quorum. Now, keeping in mind that staff is very busy, can't always make it, but we wanna make sure that we always have enough people here to meet. I don't want to necessarily say, okay, well, let's just have it be the residents or just have it be a certain subset of people and we have other people who attend when they can and advise us. But that is a consideration we might have going forward. I don't know, Mark, if you have any experience in this that you.
Well, it's just like, I know, Gary, you could be called away at any moment. So
Yeah.
whether you wanna be an official member or an
No.
advisory when we need you.
Just here, if you need me.
Yeah, so that might help to take Terry off as a voting member and make him a professional advisor.
Steve told me he wanted to be a voting member, but maybe he told you otherwise, or?
I'll verify that as well.
Okay, cause if he doesn't plan regularly to attend, then it might make sense for him to.
Right. So I can ask Steve on that, and then if we make, let's say he says, no, leave me off. And just keep me advised, then we can make that modification for something.
And then we would
Adjust the
some
number.
numbers and we would only get four before, which
Right.
would be a lot easier to make, so. If they agree to that, then I would say, can we ask the board for selectmen to actually formalize
So
that?
that'll be on the 18th, we'll do that.
Right. Awesome. Cool, and moving right along, right on time, any correspondence? And there, audience of citizens.
I just want to make a comment of what you were saying about the speeding and, I know that's not the main goal, the only goal is, just speeding. But I have noticed the difference on 87, because I live on 87 and I drive on 87. And I have noticed myself recently that things are slowing down a little bit. And that, if I'm going the speed limit, people are not like trying to get around me or being real pushy, because I think they have been seeing tickets being issued or they have been experiencing that. So I think it is helpful, as, it's not the only answer, obviously, but I just want to make a comment too. I notice a difference.
Thanks for making a difference.
I do what I can.
Alright, board member comments.
I don't know if this is on our agenda, but I had the unfortunate to have my car break down at the intersection of 87 and 66. And AAA took 2 hours for me to try to pick me up.
That's normal,
So the
fast.
normally AAA is great. I mean, sometimes they're incredibly quick. The point of it is I sat there and watched people go through the stoplight and everybody goes through the red light. I mean,
When you say through the red light.
in other words, they don't slow down at the yellow light, you see the yellow light and they all speed up and they're all going through red light. I don't know if that's an issue or not. I mean,
Oh, no, I've seen it, I mean, I've sat at church and literally go after cars that are running them,
yeah.
but that's the issue, right? So they're speeding up 66, going past the school, turns into a 35, if you look. It says speed limit 35, no pays attention, shocker, continues on, going 50, because I pulled people over for speeding in that section. They see the green light, they keep going by the post office, turns yellow, they're like, I could make it, they gun it, so now they're going up 60. Turns red, I'm not gonna stop, and then they blow right through it. Senior citizens are gonna try to pull out of the senior center, and they're gonna see this car hauling at them, now going downhill.
I mean, it's amazing, I mean, it was
It
like,
happens all the time.
it was comical, because, I had nothing to do. I'm sitting there waiting for them to pick me up, and it's like, almost every single time, people ran the red light. And I think it's part of it, it's a mentality that I think people, maybe we all probably do it, I try not to do it. It's something that, it's kind of, it is gonna be a learning situation for us, to people to remember I think
You said an important word, which is to teach people, and I think I was actually a little sad that this proven safety countermeasures missed what I thought was a very important thing, which is communication and education. And I think that's a broad topic, so they weren't really able to quantify that in a way that they can say it's a proven safety countermeasure, but honestly, it might be a cheap one that we pursue that will have a lot of benefits to us. I will also note that we talk about automated traffic enforcement, and while everyone in Connecticut seems to be gung ho about speed cameras, there's also the concept of red light cameras, and maybe you can tell how I feel about those specifically by how I'm talking right now. Red light cameras that will cite you for being in an intersection when the light is red. Something that we could also potentially consider if we really
I don't know the day where there's accidents here or not, but.
Well, I can tell you, there's not actually, the, coming from 87 to that intersection, there's no turn on red. And then coming from 66 past the church on your right, there's no turn on red. So there aren't really that many traffic accidents at that intersection, even though people are speeding past the school and the fire department and running red lights. That intersection alone isn't like a huge accident prone.
More 6 and 66.
Yeah, so I think, I'll continue presence there because I think it does make a difference, cause I'll sometimes sit near the that auto shop there, I'll sit there. So people coming up from 66 past senior center don't run the light and they see me there. 87, they'll slow down at the light, and then usually people are shocked coming from the fire department when they're like, oh god, that's true, but I'll sit at the church and that's been a presence, so I don't really see an issue. For us to look for a solution for that, unfortunately, that's just people breaking the law because no one's watching, right? They don't have integrity.
And I think that brings up one more important point, which will probably be my last point and a half that I want to make here, which is Columbia's roads per trip, like each car going through an intersection, you count those and you compare it to the number of accidents. We are actually quite relatively safe compared to other towns which have more traffic going through intersections, but they have a disproportionately higher number of crashes. So part of it is because we have a lower traffic count, part of it is just the nature of a town versus a bigger city, but that's something we shouldn't completely lose sight of, and when we're trying to solve problems, that we're not throwing solutions at problems that don't fully exist or that we haven't fully realized.
So
So
along those lines, if that's the case, it'll be a little bit easier for us to determine those issues and kind of possible solutions that are
absolutely good. The last comment I will make is, I know we're talking a lot about automated traffic enforcement. Again, I encourage you to attend this webinar. I think that's a topic we're going to probably end up discussing more actively, especially as we start to identify problems and we try to target them with particular solutions. So I encourage everyone to attend the webinar, read the state statute. And it's a little dry, but there's a lot of information in there that tends to get missed, especially when I read a new news article on the topic. They always seem to miss one item or another. Every article I've read so far seems to have some factual inaccuracy in it and can be quite frustrating, but I think making sure that we all understand exactly how the system works, what we're allowed to do would make the process a lot smoother for everyone else going forward.
Would it be possible that you see things like that you can forward them to us? You know, I don't have time to go through all the state statutes.
I can, yeah,
Yeah. Government issues.
So I think some things that we can clarify on solutions is DOT will be changing signage in the town, April-ish. So we got that, that's a solution to maybe some of the issues we're having.
is that just replacing the old ones with the new higher retro reflective signs?
We put them in the correct locations,
Oh,
so.
Right.
They're not just replacing what's here, they're bringing everything up to.
I just remember that was another thing, I think in the 11th edition of the METCD, they've had numbers for making sure your signs are reflective enough for years, but now they actually say you need to measure the retro reflectivity of your pavement markings as well, because I know some people complain at night you can't see the pavement markings. Now there are federal standards for that as well, so.
And would it be possible before they do this, we make some like nice suggestions? Gee, we were wondering, is this place, like road there? Geez, we noticed that there's no sign there. Is that a possibility or something? I don't know.
They'll put one there if it's required by the METC.
Yeah.
So we have, they've emailed us the plan that shows every location.
They have a map showing us all our speed signs and where they are.
Yeah.
Where they're proposed.
And where they're proposed. Any further comments?
Could we, as I stated, have Steve or Mark or whoever in a quarterly or monthly newsletter address speeding, address it that we've adapted or established a committee and just preliminary data showing that it's you, the residents, that are speeding. It's not the out of towners. I mean, I have no problem writing one from the fire department saying, my men and women are out there, slow down and respect us for our own safety.
and I can tag right onto that, I think we should just start right there. It should be every quarter, every month, doesn't bother me, just hitting them.
Yeah, with the statistics.
That's where I was.
Exactly.
So I know Steve was gonna communicate the stats, because I was gonna give it to him. But based off of our last meeting and the communication part, has anyone addressed up and down and a way of kind of saying like, hey, from stats from the trooper last month, majority of the speeders were Columbia residents. Obviously, like she said, and myself, I can tell you that it is slowing down, at least on 87, 66. It's a hit or a miss, but I've been pulling Columbia residents over there too, but it's slowed down, so at least like let them know, like, hey, you know, it's slowing down for the residents. The presence of speeding is, you know, not a big issue. These are some of the new things that we're coming up with. DOT is gonna be putting new signage come April, so they just, because a lot of times they're calling, complaining about this stuff. Whether it be, there's no pedestrian sidewalks, this, that, and the third, and we're like, yeah, we hear you, yep, we're gonna fix it. And then there's nothing, so I think all back to complain again, it's just like, if we give them that communication back, like, we're looking into it, we'll let you know what we can do.
So I think that goes along with the communication with educational solution, once we start actually formalizing our problems, that's probably gonna be easy solution number one that we get. Having a formalized, how do we wanna present that? Do we wanna present that through the first selectman's letter? Do we put something out? You know, there's a lot of avenues and we need to figure out which one, as a committee, we want to pursue.
Well, and can we get maybe a jump on that, because I think that's where everything starts, so would it be possible to at least determine who's physically writing the message and who the message is coming from, which may be two different people? What needs to be included and what the cadence is?
Yeah, so you could have a different message from Jeff, which is respect your first responders, we're out there, please slow down, it's our lives. Matter.
But we'll at least know that we'll have consistent data coming in.
Right.
And then Stevens could be more on, this is what we're doing. And this is the stats I'm getting from the Rescue Trooper program. And then we could have one from Nick saying, this is what the committee's doing, these are our goals, this is what we're gonna focus on. So I think we keep hitting it from.
Yeah, I think that's something we can do probably immediately, in the short term, and then one missing piece of that would be the formalized feedback loop. So I think to end each of those messages should be, if you have an issue, this is the process to follow. Whether it's a specific email, phone number, and it goes to a specific person, and then that gets distributed to the right people.
Email, public input.
And I don't know how many
Oh, yeah.
people are reading the newsletter. Somehow we have to hit social media, cause that's where.
Yeah.
Well, I think text my gov could be used as well.
That'd be
It
good.
works.
Yeah.
So we had a kayak incident on the lake this weekend. I believe, or last week, and was it this weekend?
It was Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. The gentleman basically took on water in his kayak, Yukon chief that lives on the lake retired, saw two kayaks out there and then saw one kayak tipped over. So he called us, so we all go searching. Individuals from China, they're here in an Airbnb across 87. They went out there, his kayak tipped over. But then he hung onto the other one and they paddled back to shore and went inside but never said anything. So now we think there's a body at the lake. So we were trying to figure out whose canoe or the kayak it was. So we ended up texting TextMyGov. We also Mary from the lake committee there. Yeah, she saw me and I told her like, hey, could you just see if anyone owns this kayak or is missing a kayak? So she posted that out. We were getting a lot of feedback. And then I messaged back saying that we found out who it was and everyone's safe, but the texting and social media definitely was like a go-to, and we were getting more feedback and like it was a lot faster than kind of just like, okay, what do we do from here? But we're not gonna blow it out of proportion and get, you know, the dive team out and everything else, because that's gonna be a lot of reports for something that we could have solved just in the town itself. So
So yeah, I would say we can absolutely go ahead and start putting together letters for newsletters. We're gonna start coming up with one. We'll ask Steve to maybe do this next one. I can start drafting one that we can review at the next meeting. And Justin, if you want to maybe come up with a list of how else we can communicate stats and what frequency kind of makes sense to do that with. We want to do maybe a monthly thing or a weekly thing, and what avenues, social media, text my gov, anything else like that. Alright, anything else for
Chad can
chat?
talk about, I'll be on WILI third Friday of this month, so that'll be here in a week. Could have that as one of my updates to the town.
That'd be great. Anything else?
I was just saying, with the weather being the way it is and the wind, trees are going down, wires are coming down. Be patient with us, kind of like Jeff was saying. There's gonna be just firefighters at one location, just me at one location, there's not that many of us to go around. Snow is gonna eventually come, we'll do a good snowstorm, so, just if you're speeding. You're going down to 25 and no one does 25, let's be honest, just. Take a second thought and slow it down on these roads. Be patient around the curves because you're gonna be the next one that's off the road that we're gonna have to deal with. It's taking time away from an actual emergency because you slid off the road too fast, so. Just know that the storms are coming, the trees are coming down. DOT is doing a lot of tree work on 6 right now, taking down trees, they have been for a while. So. Things are in place, but do your part, that's all I ask.
Sounds like a wonderful message to distribute via social media and other modes.
We did it, we wanted to.
We did.
I'll see, yeah, there we go.
They're always much, maybe each meeting will have Trooper Allen's corner. Alright, I think we are good with board member comments, so at this time. Change someone else's motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
There's a second, we're done, time 9:57. I'm disappointed with myself, how long. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.